In this video, we are going to cover the first round of a mock draft with explanations for each pick. Before we get into the draft, make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any more videos from RotoHeat.com.
With the first pick in the draft, I select Jonathan Taylor, running back, Wisconsin. I'll be honest, the first reason I'm taking is I'm a huge Badger fan, very biased, but at the same time, we all know how prolific of a college career he's had. 6,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, 3 seasons. Came on strong as a true freshman, rushing for almost 2,000 yards. I'm sure we've all heard of all sorts of different crazy comparisons and what he could potentially be. So I kind of thought I'd come up with someone that maybe you all haven't heard of or never thought of before. Excuse me. And that'd be Edgerrin James. James, a lot like Taylor, wasn't asked to catch the ball a whole lot in college. James never had more than 19 catches in a season during his 3 years in Miami. Taylor had 16 catches and 176 yards in his freshman and sophomore, combined in his freshman and sophomore season, with no touchdowns. Taylor made it a focus during his junior season to prove that he was a capable receiving option, to prove himself capable of doing so in the NFL. I believe he did just that. He ran a lot of nice routes, coming out of the backfield. Very good awareness to get in the open field if plays broke down. QB started running out a little bit, and he looked like a natural pass catcher with his hand placements. Didn't look like he was struggling to get his hands in the right spot, pinkies down and stuff like that with low balls, and looked pretty natural doing it, in my opinion. He went on to finish the year with 26 catches for 252 yards and also had 5 touchdowns. Even though it's a very small sample size, he still looks like he's very capable of doing that at the next level. It's something you continue to grow upon. Edgerrin James ended up having 61 receptions in each of his first 2 NFL seasons, with only having 42 catches in his entire 3 years in college. I'm not sure Taylor will go for that many, but I think he'll get involved in the NFL at the next level with whoever takes him. It wouldn't surprise me to see him be in the 35 to 45 range as a rookie. I'll make a bold prediction and say that in 2020, Jonathan Taylor goes for 38 catches, 1,500 total yards, rushing and receiving, and 11 total touchdowns. So I'd be somewhere in the RB8 to RB12 range finishing the season as a rookie. His college production, along with his size at 5'10", 226, the speed he displayed at the combine, 4.3, 940 at the combine, is exactly what I'm looking for in the 101. It's a guy I can stick in my lineup, never have to worry about it, never have to do anything like that. He's going to be a future workhorse for the future, and someone I can't wait to have on my team.
With the second pick in the draft, I select CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. It's a beautiful thing whenever film and analytics can combine to form one consensus opinion on a single player, and that is what's happening in this class with wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. Now, a lot of people would prefer to take a running back at the 102 spot, specifically guys like J.K. Dobbins or DeAndre Swift, but before the NFL draft, without knowing any of their landing spots right now, I would much rather take a pick on a much safer prospect like CeeDee Lamb than either the other running backs or any other wide receiver in this class, because CeeDee Lamb is my wide receiver 1. A 19-year-old breakout age, over 20% market share of receptions, and a huge dominator rating. CeeDee Lamb dominated every aspect of the passing game for Oklahoma and was a dynamic player both on film and analytically. And that is why a lot of people love him and a lot of people have him as their wide receiver 1s, myself included. So I would much rather take a prospect that is safe and as bulletproof as CeeDee Lamb, in my opinion, than any of the other running backs who are much more landing spot dependent and much more variable in terms of their production in year 1 and year 2, because we don't know their landing spot right now. So that is why I selected wide receiver CeeDee Lamb.
With the third pick in the draft, I select running back J.K. Dobbins out of Ohio State University. Dobbins was my number 2 running back going into this, so I feel great about being able to get him at pick 3 here. I see him as a player not only with a high ceiling, which you would want, but also a very high floor. I feel he is the most complete and well-rounded back out of the top tier. and I did have him as my number 2 overall running back behind Taylor. That said, I feel that he has a higher floor than Taylor does, so getting him here and his potential to be an every down running back in the NFL is a great situation. Film review shows him to have great vision, patience, explosiveness, and footwork. He was able to handle an increased workload each year from his freshman to junior year in 2019, and he was also able to show a high level of performance against elite competition when he faced it, which is something that you want to see going to be facing higher competition in the NFL. He does have room to grow as a receiver. He did have drops at times, and throughout his career he was not always necessarily the kind of pass protector you would want in the current NFL. That said, his pass protection and also his ball security improved during his time at college, and while he was not a standout receiver, I did not see someone lacking in that area either. He had more than 20 receptions each of his 3 years in college. The aforementioned Jonathan Taylor, I believe, only had 1 year we had over 20 receptions, and that really is sort of something that's been debunked with Taylor. So again, I'm not seeing that as an issue with Dobbins either. So, in conclusion, having that high floor along with that high ceiling potential, I am very comfortable taking him here at 1.3.
With the 4th pick in the draft, I select Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, Alabama. I'm not going to lie, I was really hoping that my personal 101 CeeDee Lamb is going to fall to me here at 4, but alas, it just wasn't meant to be. It's hard to be disappointed when afforded the ability to select a wide receiver prospect as talented as Jeudy. The 20-year-old completed his 2017 season with the team leading 77 receptions for 1,163 yards and 10 touchdowns. In his sophomore season, he had 68 catches for 1,315 yards and 14 scores. He was a consensus All-American in 2018 and the Fred Blitnikoff Award winner, given to the most outstanding receiver in college football. So Jeudy's 6'1", 192 pounds. He's a playmaker that runs excellent routes. He's a threat to score on every touch. He possesses quick off the line, great feet, has good leaping ability, and excellent body control. He possesses the ability to play on the inside and the outside with his speed, and he has ability with the ball in his hands to score on every play. Realistically, Jerry Jeudy should be a true number 1 wide receiver in the NFL with the potential to be a perennial Pro Bowler. Quite simply, Jerry Jeudy's the kind of receiver that any NFL team would be lucky to have. He should come off the board in about the middle of day 1, and I'm extremely comfortable using the 4th selection on him here.
The 5th pick in the draft, I select DeAndre Swift, running back from Georgia. This is Shane Hallam from FakePigskin.com, and I was ecstatic about taking DeAndre Swift at the 105. DeAndre Swift is the number 2 player on my board for rookie drafts at this point, right behind Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin. And so to get him at the 105, I think is an absolute steal. Look, this draft is loaded at wide receiver. So if you're in the 105, your hope is that teams will take CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy ahead of you. That's going to leave one of the big 3 running backs, Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, or J.K. Dobbins, there for your pick. And I think DeAndre Swift right now is the number 2 running back in this class behind Taylor. I think he has all of those skills, catching the football, being able to carry a load, be a lead running back in the NFL. I think all those things are there for him. So to get that at the 105, I think is an absolute steal. And it's very possible come May that he's going to be the 101 or the 102 if he goes to a good situation. If he's the 1st or 2nd running back off the board in the NFL draft, then I think we're going to see this guy rise up. So I'm really excited to get him here. I think this is kind of the dream at the 105. I really feel like right now there are 6 really good players in the draft. The 3 running backs I mentioned, the 2 big receivers, and then Cam Akers from Florida State, who went 1 pick after me. So I would have been happy with any of those, 6. Obviously, you're going to get one of them at the 105. But to get a player like Swift, to get an elite running back talent in a draft, but I think that running back talent really falls off after the first round of the rookie draft, I think that's huge. The second round, you can get that receiver. You're going to be able to find those guys that go in the second or third round of the NFL draft. You're going to be able to draft them and get some guys in some good situations. So I'm really happy with this pick. I think DeAndre Swift should go higher and should go above CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy. So I'm really happy with the 105.
With the 6th pick in the draft, I'm going to select Cam Akers, running back, Florida State University. The cool thing about Akers is he made a lot out of a little. Anybody who watched Florida State football knows that that was a really bad offensive line and really pretty poor offense in general. He was really a bright spot as you watched the film, as you watched about him. He had a lot to like about his game, especially in 2019 where he had well over 1,000 yards on right around 230 carries. He had double-digit touchdowns. Plus, he added in the receiving game quite a bit. The only concern you're really going to have with Akers is at the next level, he's going to need to learn pass protection and really become that 3-down back that a team that some teams like to utilize. Nowadays, we're seeing a lot of that 2-back committee. But Akers is really going to come in and be one of those top-tier running backs in this class, and I could easily see him being, probably top 3 or 4 running backs in this rookie class overall. And for that reason, I think he's easily a top 10 pick in rookie drafts. There's a lot of places that he can go in the draft and really provide you a lot of value fantasy-wise, even from the get-go. Obviously running back shelf lives aren't nearly as long as a receiver, but at this spot with some of the other guys that have gone ahead of him already, I'm going to go with my favorite back that wasn't already selected. And I think it's gonna bode well for your team, your roster makeup if you're in need of a running back, or if you're a team that could use some nice depth at running back that could develop into an RB1 type player at this position at the 6th pick. And when you're losing out on talent like Dobbins and Swift and Taylor by now, Akers is perfect. He has all the skills from the get-go to just step right in and be a productive RB1 for a team.
With the 7th pick in the draft, I select Jalen Reagor, wide receiver, TCU. Generally, I subscribe to the theory of wanting to go with a running back early, draft running back, trade for wide receiver, that sort of thing. However, with the top 4 running backs gone, I kind of see a tier break as it stands right now before getting to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. CAH, I think, is going to have a good career if he'll land with a team that wants to use his pass-catching prowess. And I want to see that happen before I feel comfortable taking him this early in the draft. So I'm more than happy to take my wide receiver 2 off the board. I've got Reagor right behind CeeDee Lamb and ahead of Jerry Jeudy. Reagor underwhelmed some at the combine, according to some reports, and as such, we've kind of seen him falling down some draft boards a little bit. But if you look at his combine, the issue there was his speed. People didn't think he was as fast as he should have been. But if you look at his measurements from that, he weighed in 10 pounds heavier than what he was listed at playing at TCU. And if you also compare just what you kind of saw there versus what you kind of see on game tape, he looked heavier too. I think that might have been a strategy, maybe to show some more size and some strength, and letting his explosiveness speak for itself on tape. I think he's the most explosive player off the line. He might struggle a little bit more with press coverage than CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb's better breaking that, but if you're looking for just pure explosion, when you get a release off the line, I think it's Jalen Reagor. He also has some good kick returning and punt returning abilities. And, whether you have a league that only counts touchdowns or you get some yardage too, I think he's got a chance to get you some points on special teams.
With the 8th pick in the first round, I say take Joe Burrow, quarterback from LSU. He's going to be one of those elite quarterbacks that comes out and is going to put up mad points right away. He should be one of those that when looking back, it would be like Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, even a Russell Wilson, where you wish you would have grabbed him before everybody else got him and his price got too high. Yeah, I would like to have someone like J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, but they weren't going to make it this far. Joe Burrow is someone that right now, if you take him at 1.8, he should wind up helping your team, and that might be just a little bit you need to help you get that boost right up into the championship game.
With the 9th pick of our draft, I selected Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back, LSU. You know, I was really stoked to land Edwards-Helaire here in the 9th pick. I was kind of thinking before this started I was probably going to get, like a wide receiver or someone that I wasn't really too high on. But, what they say, this is one of the deepest draft class, we've seen in a long time, and this is exactly why. I mean, you're looking at a running back here who averaged 6.6 yards per carry, had over 1,400 yards on the ground, 16 touchdowns. He also can catch the ball, 55 receptions, 453 yards, and a touchdown through the air. I mean, these are numbers like you don't see at the back, the back half of a first round rookie draft. I mean, this is a 3-down back, and I think he's going to be, drafted in the NFL draft on a team that needs a 3-down back. And if that happens, you're going to see this guy kind of inch up some of these draft boards. But I was really surprised he was there in the 9th spot. I was very happy to take him there. You think back to last year, and the best running back last year was Josh Jacobs. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is very comparable to Josh Jacobs. Both running backs are coming into the league or came into the league with a lot of tread on the tires. Both have that 3-down back capability. Clyde Edwards-Helaire can run in between the tackles, can receive the ball out of the backfield. And I really do think that after the NFL draft, and he's in a sweet spot, you're going to see him as a top 5 consensus 1 QB dynasty rookie pick in the top 5 picks, because you just don't see running backs like this in rookie classes just get passed up on. So I'm happy to get him in the 9th spot. Think back again to last year. Josh Jacobs is obviously the best running back, but who were you getting in the mid to late first round? Darrell Henderson, Justice Hill. I mean, this guy is light years ahead of them. So it's a deep draft class, but I'm very happy to get Clyde Edwards-Helaire here, and I think he's definitely someone to keep an eye out for.
With the 10th pick in this draft, I am selecting Justin Jefferson, the wide receiver from LSU. I was actually surprised that he made it here at 10. I was expecting to be having to decide between Ragers and Mims and Higgins, but when Ragers went 7th, I had hoped that Jefferson would fall. I feel like I'm getting a real steal here. I had him as my wide receiver 3. They've compared him to Stephon Diggs. His size, speed, route running ability are all very high, and seems like he'd be a good fit with a lot of teams that are in that 15 to 25 range. So most of those situations, he'd jump in there as an instant starter and hopefully put up good fantasy numbers in year 1.
With the 11th pick, I select Denzel Mims, wide receiver, Baylor. After the big 4 running backs went off the board as well as Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I knew I was taking a wide receiver here, and in the end I passed on T. Higgins as well as Bryan Edwards, although they were in consideration, and decided to take Denzel Mims. He had a great Senior Bowl, showed out at the Combine, and has the college production to back it as well. Also important, he should see first round or maybe second round NFL draft capital, which weighs heavily in my decision making too.
With the 12th pick in the draft, I select T. Higgins, wide receiver from Clemson. Here at the 12th pick, most of my favorite wide receivers were off the board, but T. Higgins is a great consolation prize as the 6th wide receiver taken in this first round. He has a huge wingspan, and he's a touchdown monster. He broke the Clemson record for touchdowns in a career that was held by DeAndre Hopkins and Sammy Watkins. For a guy that's 6'4", he ran a 4.59, which doesn't sound great, and there's been a lot of talk about him not being fast. But, I mean, Hopkins only ran a 4.57. Mike Williams only ran a 4.59. This guy's, he's not DeAndre Hopkins, and he's probably not going to be as good as DeAndre Hopkins. But I do think that he's a better route runner than somebody like Mike Williams was. But we know that he is going to be a touchdown threat, a red zone threat at all times. If he can get to the 70 catch mark for 1,100 yards, he could be a very valuable dynasty asset and fantasy asset year in and year out. But there is a lot of upside there if he can get into that 80, 90 catch range with 1,300, 1,400 yards. We could see this guy turn into a high wide receiver 2, low end wide receiver 1 in fantasy, and taking him at the 12th pick, and with 5 other wide receivers coming off ahead of him, it just shows the depth of this draft. And there were some options here. Ruggs is still on the board, and he'll probably be taken in the next couple picks, but I chose to go with the wide receiver from wide receiver U, T. Higgins, and we will see you in the second round.
Also, right there, playlist. Hit it. Watch the videos. Do it. You want to. Do it.